In a recent Twitter space, CZ, the CEO of Binance, obviously everyone knows, largest player in crypto, involved everywhere, that was stablecoin, everything, right? Like pinnacle of crypto, right? He was in a space and brought up that he thought that DeFi would actually overcome CeFi in the next bull run. He thought that was a real possibility. It currently stands, as far as from like a trading volume perspective, DeFi is about 5 to 10%. And CZ goes on. He lists a few things talking about both, like Uniswap winning their class action, thrown out for good reason. He highlighted a few of the negatives and pros, but was just getting that he thought it was better for the industry as a whole. That DeFi continues to improve.
Number one, I agree with the fact that the Uniswap ruling was extremely positive, and it's also extremely reasonable and logical and clear. So I think that's very good. I think look, developer writing code, and code is basically free speech. So I think that development is really good. And also, I think, as I said it many times before, I think DeFi is the future. I think DeFi volume is like somewhere between 5 to 10% of CeFi volumes, which is not small, right? So Uniswap for the last 2 quarters, their volume was bigger than Coinbase Spot. So the next bull run may very well make DeFi bigger than CeFi. So I think I think that's a very good development. I think the more decentralized the industry becomes, the better.
Now, again, everyone knows there's some gamesmanship, so it's interesting to see, how much this we really want to take weight from someone like CZ, who again is a very centralized player, but has done things in a lot of ways that are, let's call them interesting. Both with his interactions with FTX and so on and so forth. Huge amounts of pushback from different jurisdictions. So he's clearly a clever and smart guy for a lot of reasons. But what I really wanted to jump on was just that idea of, DeFi, overcoming CeFi in the next bull run. And I think for a lot of reasons, it's similar to like the iPhone. So when we look at DeFi currently and we say, hey, we want to be able to transact anywhere in the world, within reason, we can do that. Hey, we want to be able to do anonymous private transactions. To some degree, we can do that. You look at a lot of the good, great DeFi things, whether it's, you're into Hex or PulseChain, PulseX, liquid loans, all the cool stuff that we're building in our ecosystem, or the things outside of that with, advancements around Uniswap and CowSwap, Maverick protocol, these improvements in liquidity, improvements in lending, NFTs being used for a variety of different utilities. We can do most of the things that we want in the real world. To some degree, we can execute those in some way in DeFi. The issue is it's tough, right? Using multi-sig and then layering DeFi applications and trying to get to some of these net results. It's difficult, right? Even most of us that are, experienced users, been here a long time, we struggle with this stuff. You see it all the time on X, Twitter, whatever social, a fairly prominent user gets socially engineered. A fairly prominent user connects a wallet to a scam link and, gets hit with, max allowances, these different things. But what I think we're coming close to is the iPhone. So when you look at the iPhone, remember this was 2007. It was, color screen, flat, could get online, the dApps we look at, all those things existed in some capacity before the iPhone. They just weren't quite good enough. Like we see this with other disruptive technologies where they're good, not great, and then they finally overcome that point. I think that's a bit of what CZ is highlighting, is that we could be kind of approaching that iPhone type moment in crypto where it doesn't take much advance in the, much more advancement in the wallets. It doesn't take much more than kind of what we have here. There's still a lot of work to get done across the space to make all of these things more user friendly. But so many of the Lego, so many of the building blocks are already here that we are much closer than we think to going from early to usable, right? And I there's a lot of that jockey back and forth on that word early, but we are approaching some tech and a few places that would allow us to interact with these contracts. Solana is, they're championing an operating system on a phone, whether or not that's the right direction to go. We're seeing different, improvements around multi-sig. We're seeing hybrid custody. We're seeing improvements in the custodian partners we have, even at a third party level. There's all this convergence around, hey, how do we solve some of these problems? They're getting closer. So what I really think is, again, for all of us in our ecosystem, DeFi is clearly getting championed and more adopted. We're getting closer to these iPhone moment, this true disruption of tech, the maturity in the space that so many of us talk about. We're close. Most of that tech is here. So I love hearing CZ's kind of take that, he could see DeFi overcoming CeFi in this next bull run. Interested to see what you guys think. I think we're closer than what many think. So much of what we want to do is here. It's just still pretty hard. It's essentially dev tools. And, that's something that we try to champion. If you look at our dApp and our front end, we try to make it very beautiful. We try to make it intuitive. We have the battery logo showing TCR. We have, you can, click the different token logos and get contract addresses. There's explainer videos right there. There's our product guide. We're trying to make it more intuitive where you don't even feel like it's innately crypto. But we're getting close. I'll be interested to see what you guys think. Do you guys think we're that close? I know that so many of us push DeFi, but can DeFi really overcome CeFi in this next bull run?